In a lot of research and development, had it off it was where I come from about
I'm trying to get MSc certificate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm adopting my Mussolini position in the hope that you can both see and hear for a moment. But I just did want to say how pleased I am to be able to welcome you all here this evening for this landmark in the history of the Marine Conservation Society, of which I think I have been patron for some 30 years. And so far you haven't asked me to give up, so maybe I shall just totter along until finally I can no longer string any words together. But I can only imagine that this Silver Jubilee must be a source of particular pride to the two visionary people who all those years ago recognized the crucial need for an organisation to protect and champion Britain's marine environment. Bernard Eaton and Professor David Bellamy, and incidentally I'm terribly sad that David Bellamy wasn't able to be here this evening, but both of them are certainly owed an incalculable debt of gratitude from many of us. And if I may say so, I am so proud to have been involved, as I was saying, from almost the beginning. If I remember, I think I was patron of the Underwater Conservation Year in 1977, which eventually evolved into the Marine Conservation Society, of which, as I say, I'm delighted to be president, and which has tirelessly worked for cleaner seas, sustainable fisheries, and protection for our remarkable marine wildlife. And what a record, ladies and gentlemen, of achievement it has to celebrate. The MCS Good Beach Guide has applied the unstinting pressure needed to ensure that sewage pollution on our beaches is relegated to history. The basking shark, one of the most impressive native animals in our seas, was protected because the Society presented the evidence for its decline. And more recently, the Good Fish Guide has changed the basis on which many major retailers and consumers source their seafood, driving the market to support sustainably managed fisheries. Indeed, you will be glad to hear the seafood you have been served tonight was Marine Stewardship Council certified. So we do our best here, I assure you. So it is little wonder that the MCS is one of the most respected environmental champions. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is much to celebrate, but dare I say it, there is still much to be done, of course. And that is why the Society is launching a new report which will highlight one of the greatest environmental threats of this century, the systematic decline in the state of our seas. Overfished and awash with rubbish, there are now 7 times more vertebrate species facing extinction in the United Kingdom seas than in the entire British Isles. Terrifying statistic, I think. Entitled Silent Seas, deliberately echoing Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, the report will be a wake-up call, we hope it will, that our seas need urgent help to ensure that they do not fall silent or still. In true MCS style, it will present the solutions as well as the problems. And having had a sneak preview of the report, I can only congratulate everybody who has contributed, not least the artists who I met and who have illustrated it so remarkably. And there is more encouraging news, particularly with regard to marine reserves, which I've always believed, for what it's worth, can make a vital contribution to the health of our seas. And I was telling one or two of you this evening as I was going around that I remember 20 years ago now, going on a visit to Brussels to the Commission there with a group of environmental activists, and at dinner I remember talking to the then European Commissioner for the Environment, I think it was, and suggesting that why didn't they adopt a similar approach to what was then being adopted on the land, which was environmentally sensitive areas, at sea, as a form of protected zone. And if you remember, the environmentally sensitive areas on land required people to adopt somewhat more traditional approaches in order to ensure the survival of particular habitats. And when I mentioned this, I remember that this lady flew into a frightful rage and said, I haven't gone into politics in order to go backwards. So it's quite interesting as to what's happened in the last, well, suddenly in the last 20 years. But recent research, of course, has shown that reserves not only afford marine wildlife the protection that it so desperately requires, but also that they have a key role to play in helping our fisheries recover. The only current marine reserve at Lundy in Devon has seen lobster numbers increase sevenfold in just 4 years. And not surprisingly, local fishermen are very supportive. If only people would understand, I think, the value of these zones, because although it may appear to fishermen that they can be very restrictive, in fact, my experience and what I've discovered is that so often then fish will spread out from those zones and people will catch more. But this is why I'm so delighted by the United Kingdom and Scottish government's proposals for marine acts that will establish a comprehensive network of marine protected areas. And I'm particularly keen, if I may say so, on their proposals for highly protected marine reserves where no damaging activities will be allowed, and for which I know the MCS has been a powerful proponent. I also hope at some point attention could be paid to at least looking at the problem of over-sophisticated technology and equipment, which it seems to me have such a very damaging effect on sucking up every single last fish from the ocean. Of course, time is of the essence, and so I am delighted that the government seems to be making the creation of marine protected areas such a priority. I mean, that is the good news, ladies and gentlemen, but there is yet another threat that will cross the boundaries of even the strictest of marine reserves, and that, of course, is litter. It is an eyesore on the beaches, as you know far better than I, but at sea, largely out of sight, and thus out of mind, the remnants of our throwaway society are causing incalculable suffering to turtles, whales, and seabirds. And I hope most of you have seen the leatherback turtle that was in the room just through here, together with all the plastic that came out of the stomach. And albatrosses, those magnificent and magical birds, are being found dead with their stomachs almost full to bursting with plastic litter of all kinds. And that is when they haven't actually been drowned by long-line fishing hooks. Here in Britain, our largest native breeding seabird, the gannet, is equally threatened. Over 90% of the nests at Grassholm Island contain plastic debris which entangles the feet, wings, and sometimes the beak of the chicks. And our largest marine reptile, the magnificent leatherback turtle, is particularly susceptible. Their favourite food is of course jellyfish, which bears a striking similarity to a floating plastic bag, a bag that can block their gut and so of course they starve to death. And if you're in any doubt, just take a look, as I say, at that model, if you can, before you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we simply cannot continue to treat the oceans in this way. How can we talk about sustainability and stewardship when we are allowing this to happen? That is why the Marine Conservation Society is so vital. Its annual Beach Watch event involves thousands of volunteers who not only clear our beaches of litter, but painstakingly identify what each item of litter is, so that the MCS can target the sources. Now, I really am delighted that there are representatives here today from that brave band of volunteers who are making such a difference for the better. Indeed, there are so many people here today to whom huge thanks are owed for their support of the Marine Conservation Society. And I do hope that each and every one of you is feeling a sense of real pride in the achievements of the last 25 years. If I may, I particularly want to thank the new corporate supporters, Loch Jewett, Waitrose, Loch Fyne and Dragon Feeds. I've learnt a lot about ragworms this evening, who have joined the campaign. And I can only hope that many more businesses will follow the lead being given by these pioneering MCS Oceans 25 ambassadors, who I have much enjoyed meeting this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, with the crisis of climate change and the rising cost of food, never has it been so important to take immediate action to protect marine life and ensure the sustainable management, the durable management, sustainable is a word that's sometimes overused, I think, of the many resources and benefits that our seas provide to us all. The Marine Conservation Society is at the very heart of this fight, and for all our sakes, and for the sake of all those species on which we depend for our food and indeed our sanity, let us hope that it is as successful in the next quarter of a century as it has been in the last. And I can only end by congratulating the members, the staff, led so ably by Sir Geoffrey Newman and Samantha Fanshawe, together with the volunteers and the supporters, for your unstinting commitment and dedication. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Your Royal Highness, thank you so much for that eloquent speech. Your words make us proud to be involved with the Marine Conservation Society, and they energise us to double our efforts on behalf of our seas. You have been an environmental leader even longer than the MCS, and the whole world owes you a debt of gratitude. We are so privileged to have Your Royal Highness as our President. Sir, may I take this opportunity to thank our guests for coming to this great event to celebrate our Silver Jubilee year. Every one of them has contributed to MCS's success in one way or another, and I'm sure will continue to do so in the future. Finally, Your Royal Highness, on behalf of MCS, its trustees, staff, members, corporate sponsors, volunteers, and all those who wish to see our seas and the wildlife it supports fit for future generations, our grateful thanks, sir, for hosting this wonderful and memorable event at Clarence House.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
She added a couple of things, but yeah, but it's fine. So I mean, it might have changed.